Surprise! It's another video all about camera bags. But this time we're only talking about two bags. This is a follow-up to a video I did sort of explaining what I'm looking for in the quote-unquote perfect camera bag, which I still don't think exists, unfortunately, but I think that I've gotten really close. And so this is going to be a relatively in-depth comparison between these two bags and all the small, minute differences between them so that hopefully you can make a decision on what works for you, especially if your needs in a camera bag are similar to mine. On their surface, camera bags are kind of an odd thing to have an obsession over, but I've been at least somewhat obsessed with camera bags for many years. And after making that last video, I learned that I'm not alone in that, which is great because I don't like to be alone. Now, what I'm looking for in the perfect camera bag is really based on the idea of a relatively compact backpack that can do a lot of different things very specifically. And in my last video, this was the bag that I had ended up with, which is really fantastic. This is the Manfrotto Pro Light Backloader Small. There's a whole series of these bags and they really don't get much attention, but I think they're pretty amazing. This is the small, which is rated at 19 liters. And that's not correct, which I'll talk about in a second. This is bigger than 19 liters, but there's also a medium one, which is bigger than this. And that also doesn't make sense because if there are only two, how can one be a medium? But this is the small one. That's what I was looking for. It's the back loader because it loads from the back. They also have a front loader that opens from the front, and they have a flex loader which opens a whole bunch of different ways. But a backloading backpack is something that I learned was important to me, something that I wanted in my backpack. I also wanted a backpack that is super durable, not too big, capable of holding a laptop, and has some kind of top compartment where I could potentially store a camera for easy, quick access, and is pretty water and weather resistant because even though I live in a very dry climate and rain usually isn't an issue here, protecting things from dust and traveling with a bag where I have been caught in the rain or snow many times in the past has been a problem with some bags. And now I've had this bag for about 5 months and I really like it. There are just a couple things that kind of like, I wouldn't say I don't like about it, but just it's like, it's a little unfinished sort of, I wonder if this could be done a little bit better. So the other bag that I finally decided to give a try is this one here, which is the Nomatic McKinnon Everyday Camera Backpack, probably the most popular and most commonly reviewed backpack. This is very unpopular. This is me in high school. This is everybody else. And so what I want to do today is sort of talk about these two bags specifically, explain the very subtle differences between them, why I think that the Manfrotto bag is overall a better value, and why I am probably going to be returning the Nomatic backpack, even though it is a very nice backpack. And a real quick spoiler update, I did end up returning the Nomatic bag because as nice as it is, I could just never get it configured in a way that really worked super well for me. And it is just really expensive, so I decided to return the bag to put more money in my bag. Now, first of all, the reason I didn't even consider this in my first round of searching for backpacks is because of the size. It's 25 liters. This backpack is 19 liters. This is a little bit bigger than I would like, honestly. I've mentioned previously that the Brevite Jumper backpack, which is just a normal backpack size, is like the perfect backpack size. And I would love something that's just more durable and a little more capable, but that's that size. If this is 19 liters, I didn't want 6 more liters, but I have no idea what drunk person measured this bag because these are exactly the same size. If anything, the Nomatic bag is slightly shorter and slightly skinnier as well, but they're pretty much the exact same size. You can even take the camera cubes out of here and use them in here perfectly. Based on when the Nomatic McKinnon bag was announced and then the time it took to go through that Kickstarter campaign, manufacture it, deliver it, and now it's at a point where you can just order it online from, most popular retailers pretty easily. This bag came out after that, and I have to think that this bag in a lot of ways was directly inspired by this, or at least what they had talked about when they launched the Kickstarter campaign for this bag, because they're very similar in a ton of ways. So first and foremost, let's bag things up a little bit with these bags and talk about the price between them, because that is a massive difference. The Manfrotto bag I was able to get for about $180, maybe $190. It's under $200 for the small one. The Peter McKinnon bag is $390 with the configuration that I have. The bag itself is $300 with nothing inside, and then you can decide if you want dividers, a big camera cube, a small camera cube, some combination. I got 2 small camera cubes and the bag. The total for that was $390. So that is twice the price. Wait, $390, $190. So it's basically twice the price of this bag over here. It's hard not to overlook the price in this situation because that's a huge deciding factor. But at the same time, when we're talking about something that's intended to protect thousands of dollars of camera gear and equipment, you know, spending a little extra money to get something that's really good and reliable, it's not a crazy thing to do. This is an expensive bag. It's probably a bit overpriced, but I don't necessarily want to use that as a negative against it, because whether or not something is expensive is also a very personal thing. There are some people who would be very hesitant to spend this much money on a bag, and there are other people who wouldn't even think twice about it. It's definitely more than I've ever spent on a camera bag, but it is also, I will say, a super nice camera bag. Very well built overall, very well thought out. The versatility of this is what really kind of drew me to it, because that's really what I'm looking for, is simplicity and versatility. So before we get into this one, let's talk a little bit more about the Manfrotto now that I've had this and used it for quite a while at this point. You have an outer pocket right here to store some stuff. I love this because it's relatively deep. So one thing I like to keep in here is my 360 camera already on its extension, you know, selfie stick. That just fits right in there super easily. I do have a little attachment buckle here for hanging like a sweater or something to it. It is weird that there's not 2 of these. Like, feels like there should be another attachment point here so that you could have 2 of these and then you can more easily put something there. There's no side access, so we have big deep pockets on the side. The bag does come with straps to keep things in on the side. There is a top pocket here that opens up, and it's pretty deep inside. There's a built-in TSA lock, so you can put all the zippers here and then run this through them. When you buy the bag, the zippers come with these metal zipper pulls on them that make it really easy to run this through there. But I took those off and put on colored tags so I could more easily identify which pocket is which, because I don't necessarily need the lock a lot. There's a side handle here, which is also a luggage pass-through. The back of the bag is super cushioned and really comfortable. The straps themselves are pretty cushiony and comfortable. There's not really any buckles or anything on the straps. There was a sternum strap here, but I never used it, and unfortunately, it couldn't be taken off, so I just cut it off, which I felt bad about, but it was just always dangling and I literally never used it. One of my favorite things about this bag is the material. It's really, really strong. It's, you know, kind of like a cloth nylon, I don't know what it is, but it's a pretty rugged material. It's super easy to just like dust off if it gets dirt on it. It's super weather resistant. The bag does come with a rain cover if you need it. Although even in pretty heavy rain, it's not something I would really worry about for the most part. So this bag can kind of stand up to basically any weather. And speaking of standing up, this bag super easily stands up on its own because the bottom is this really tough material, but it's also got like these built-in sort of ridges. This is almost like one of those Weebles where it wobbles, but it won't fall down. It does change if you have the bag a little more heavily loaded, how easy it is to tip or not. But for the most part, it's super easy. Even if you got, you know, tripods on both sides or whatever, and it's fully loaded with laptop and camera gear, it stands up on most surfaces super duper easily. And then the back compartment opens up here. So now in this back compartment, you have your dividers that you can configure here. You have the back of the top compartment. This is just an extra divider that I kind of just stored here. And you've got a zippered pouch here. And you've got 2 pouches here that aren't zippered, which is kind of nice. They're covered, so nothing's gonna fall out of them, but you can just kind of reach in and then grab whatever you need and then put it back really quickly. So it's great for small tools, filters, things like that. And then the laptop compartment is right here. It is rated, I think, for a 16-inch or a 15-inch computer. I have my 14-inch MacBook Pro, which fits in pretty nicely. I don't know that a 16 would fit in here, but it would definitely fit in the medium version, the large version. So those are kind of the basics of this bag. It works great. I love it. It's super comfortable, super versatile. It's been really fun to use. A thing that I really love about it are the dividers. The inside is not black. I do not want a camera bag with a black interior. The red dividers are nice. It's super easy to see and find everything. This is the important part to me, is being able to take a camera with a microphone attached to it and put it in the camera bag. And with this setup right here, the camera just slides in very easily. It hangs out right there. When I'm walking with the camera, it's not having any pressure pushed on the top or the bottom or anything like that, and then it's very easy to just take out. So this is a pretty great setup overall. Why on earth would I not be satisfied with it? Well, for the most part, I am actually very satisfied with it, but you get that thing in the back of your head where you're like, maybe this could be a little bit better, and there's a couple of things that are sort of very minor annoyances that I wanted to see if there was a better version for. So first and foremost, this is great. I absolutely love this interior and being able to do all this. It's awesome. I don't like that the only way for me to store my camera with the microphone on is in the main compartment here. A thing that I really wanted to do is be able to do that in the top compartment. Now the reason I can't do that is because the top compartment is just a little too shallow. So if I put the camera in here, the camera will fit. You can fit, you know, a regular mirrorless camera with a lens on it, but then I have this little periscope microphone that's sticking out on top here, and I could maybe bend it or stretch it, but it's an expensive, delicate microphone. Also, I don't know if you can notice this, the way that this top compartment opens up is kind of frustrating to me. If I take the camera out, watch how difficult this is. There is a lot of really usable room in here. There are no pockets or anything, but it is nice because if you don't want this, you can just fold this flat. In the bigger bag, you could fold this down to take up, you know, 2/3 of the compartment. In the small bag, it's either you have the top compartment or you fold it flat and you don't. But when you have the top compartment, it's Velcroed here on the top, it's Velcroed on the sides here, and it's Velcroed on the sides here. So what that means is you end up with a really, really sturdy top compartment that nothing can fall through because there's no cracks or anything. So even if you have small pieces of equipment or small gear in here, it can't fall through anything. But if you notice the problem I'm having, it's got the narrowest opening like in the world. The zipper is right in the middle, and it's relatively shallow, so when you open it, every time you reach in here, you're scratching your hands on the zipper. I know that's not the biggest deal in the world, but it is not super pleasant, especially if you're like outside and your hands are cold and dry and then you brush them up against a metal zipper. It doesn't feel great, but it also makes it tough to put stuff in and out of here because every time you put something in or out, that metal zipper is going to be brushing up against your piece of equipment, whatever it might be. Now, one way that I solved that was right here with the Peak Design capture clip. I've never used these before, but they are super cool, and now I will be using them all the time because what that means is I can take the camera, put it on, and then just hang it right here. And now my camera is ready. You know, it looks a little dorky. It feels a little weird to have this giant thing just on you all the time, but you can get really good at it and then easily take it off with one hand, which is pretty awesome. And it's also very secure. I might even do a separate video just all about these, but I got this to kind of help solve that issue because what I really wanted was a backpack with a top section that I could easily put my camera with the microphone in, and I didn't have that. So if I can then just put that here, I can be hands-free with my camera out in super quick, easy access. This sort of felt like the best compromise, the best of both worlds to me. This does sometimes press into at least my shoulder and kind of hurt a little bit, and you gotta get used to it, but overall this thing's absolutely awesome and I love it. And I thought that kind of solved my problem, but I still wanted to know, was there a better option out there? And that's where the Nomatic bag, the Peter McKinnon Everyday bag, came into play. So first off, the comfort and the fit of these are both really good, at least to me. Fit and comfort of a backpack is a very personal opinion. There is no objective comfortable or uncomfortable backpack. Both of these I find very comfortable. I'm 5'10" tall, which is I think 177 centimeters when I looked it up, and I don't have super broad shoulders. So this is what the Manfrotto bag looks like on somebody my size with my frame. It's kind of dorky. It's pretty boxy and sort of egg-shaped. It's not super camera bag-y, but it's also not quite as simple and casual as something like the Brevite Jumper would be. Now the Nomatic bag, I do think is a bit more comfortable. The straps just feel a little less stiff. It also depends on how much you have in the bag, but this is the Nomatic bag on me. Maybe I could do a side-by-side. So now you can see me with the Nomatic bag on one side and the Manfrotto bag on the other side. And again, I'm 5'10", about 177-ish centimeters. So in a side-by-side comfort comparison, I'm comfortable saying that the Nomatic bag is more comfy than the Manfrotto bag. The straps on the Manfrotto bag are great, but they are a little bit stiff and rigid. These feel like they sort of hug you and form to you a little bit better. The only thing I don't like about this personally is because I don't have super broad shoulders, these aren't going to slip off or anything, but they are like, they're kind of right on the edge where it sort of feels like it's about to slip off. It's like when your knot in your shoelace is kind of coming loose, but it's not totally untied yet. It's sort of like that same kind of feeling. This does have a sternum strap, which helps with that a lot. And the thing I like about this sternum strap, even though I don't use them that often, or maybe especially because I don't use them that often, is that you can just take it off and either move it up or down or take it off entirely without having to cut and damage the strap, because I usually don't use these too often. It does look a little bit cooler. I mean, like, that's part of it, right? It's a cool looking bag. I wasn't super into the branding. On the front, you have the Nomatic and the Peter McKinnon signature. This is super subtle. I like this. This is slightly less subtle. It just feels like it's a little too cool for me, honestly. I don't think I'm cool enough to have something like this. It does have a luggage pass-through strap here, which I like better than the Manfrotto one, and allows you to keep the bag upright on your luggage. This one, the bag has to go sideways. Not that that really matters, but I like this. And this is also very cool how it totally blends in and becomes like invisible when you're not using it. These cushions here are pretty comfortable. I've got kind of a bony back and I can definitely feel these, so it sort of feels weird, but it also feels comfortable. I think the back of the Manfrotto bag is more comfortable, but the straps of the McKinnon bag are more comfortable. When you've got a camera bag that's loaded with gear, having a strong top handle is pretty important. I was really impressed with the Manfrotto one when I got it. It feels so sturdy and it's really thick, and it's also stitched in really nicely, so there's no fear of it coming loose. But I was surprised when I got the Nomatic bag to find that it had an even nicer handle, although it is sort of oddly positioned on the top of the straps. And the stitching is fine, but it's not as good as I would like it to be. I don't know if you can see this, but this bag is still relatively new. And right along here, there's already like, the stitching's kind of pulling out a little bit. It shouldn't be doing that at this point. And I've seen other reviews where this same seam seems to come loose for lots of other people. The material of this bag is also super nice and very durable. It looks like leather, but it's not. I think tarpaulin is what the material is made out of. It's basically just super, super strong. And in general, with light usage, if you notice scuffs or dirt on them, you can usually wipe it off. What I do think is that this material over time is more prone to actual like marks and scuffs that won't go away, which, you know, that's fine. That's what happens when you use something, right? Whereas this one, I think, is less prone to that. I think it's easier to wash things off. But even though this material is super strong, since it is more, it's like a little looser and a little more fabric-y, I think this would have the potential to get sliced maybe somehow, or cut potentially in a situation. So basically, this bag is more prone to getting scuffed and scratched in ways that won't go away, but it's like you couldn't cut into it unless you were trying to like stab it and cut through it. This bag, less likely to get scuffed and scraped, but potentially maybe tears over time could happen. Although it is super strong. If something's happening where either of these bags are getting torn and sliced, you probably have way bigger problems to worry about than your camera bag. Just like the Manfrotto bag, we don't have any side access, which is great for me because I thought that was something I would really want, and then it turns out I don't use side access that much. So having two compartments on the side is way better because then you can do tripod, water bottle, two tripods, whatever. I found that more versatile. Now I do like the side straps on the Manfrotto bag significantly better. Not only does it come with the attachment loops, so I have this one on, I took this one off. That makes it really easy. If you have like, say, a little tripod like this and you want to put it in there, it sort of just stays strapped in really nice and that works. But also, even without that, because these are so elasticy, they're big, they can fit, you know, big water bottles and things and tripods, but they're also really elasticy, so when you put something in it, it holds it there really nicely. These ones have super slick magnets and they have a little bit of elastic, so they're very large capacity. If I wanted to take like a travel tripod and put it in here, it's going to fit really well. Tripods fit fantastic in this. But if I take something smaller, then it kind of just floats around. The bag doesn't come with any attachments, so you'd have to buy other ones, which is not that they're super expensive, but you're already spending like $400 on a bag, and I have to buy another $10 or $20 strap to go on here. But these are also positioned in a way that like a small tripod like this isn't easily going to be strapped. You can kind of, if something is thin enough, close the magnets and keep it there to the side, and that works pretty well. And it doesn't really come loose that easily, but it can come loose because while the magnets are really cool, they're not the strongest magnets in the world. So basically it would be really nice if this was more aggressively stretchy, and that way it kind of like form fitted to whatever you put in it, and or the magnets in here were significantly stronger, so when you had something small, it would easily stay closed even when the bag moves a lot. So that's kind of a weird thing. It feels weird when you have something that's just sort of flopping around in your bag a little bit. I have a normal size water bottle that fits in there pretty well. It doesn't really flop around, but on the Manfrotto bag, that sucker ain't moving at all. And the next frontier that we're gonna look at are the zippers, because a big thing that's missing on the front here is any kind of outer pocket. I know on camera bags, sometimes these small pockets almost become useless because as the bag fills up, it's harder and harder to fit anything in here. But having some kind of little pocket with things like this, little organizers, even this bag's kind of lacking. I wish there were like more pen holders or compartments or something in here. This bag has absolutely nothing. You have to go into the bag, into the compartments for things like pens, keys, phone. When they sent out the initial review units for this bag, which was to like every even kind of camera related channel on YouTube, so there's tons of them out there, there are some differences in those. And there was a secret compartment here that ended up not making it into the actual production run. And I don't know why, but basically this whole front part unzipped and there were tons of compartments for filters, pens, keys, phone. Like, it was awesome. I honestly have no idea why they got rid of it. It would make the bag so much more practical to have something like that. The only things I can think of are that when the bag gets full, then it's like you really can't put anything in here, but I'd rather be the judge of that, like, than them making the decision for me. Or perhaps it had something to do with zippers. There are a lot of zippers on this bag. And if you're somebody who likes to keep your zippers at the top middle, then you end up with like a lot of zipper traffic jams happening here. And the way that I have solved that is to just not keep zippers in the middle. I keep this open, and that way whenever I need to unzip something, it goes relatively smooth. The zippers themselves are also an area that I definitely am not satisfied with. I think the brand is Zoom or something, but like it should just be YKK zippers like every bag has, because YKK is okay by me. Why? Because they're so friggin' smooth. Using all the zippers on this bag, it's like the easiest thing in the world. They're super smooth. They're not, this bag specifically, they're not super weather sealed, but I've never had an issue with that. I do like that this bag, the zippers are a lot more weather sealed, which is great. They seem to be loosening up over time the more that I've had the bag. And there are these kind of like metal tube pulls on some of the zippers, which make things very easy to grab. But the main compartment has by far the worst zipper pulls. Can you tell me what is going on here? What is this abomination of a zipper pull? It's like someone just melted a bunch of rubber on the end of a string. It's awful. They get caught on everything. If I were to keep the bag, I would definitely be replacing these with just some colored zipper pulls or something, which is also helpful because I'm constantly using the wrong zipper on this bag and I can't remember which is which. So by making them color coded, I know like the blue zipper is the main compartment. The green one is the top compartment. But while this bag doesn't have an external compartment here, it does have an extra compartment here for a laptop, which is very nicely padded. I think this is also rated for a 16-inch computer. My 14-inch MacBook fits in there, no problem. There's quite a bit of space. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to fit a 16-inch or even like a tablet and a laptop as well. So that's really nice. I actually really like having the laptop compartment separate from the inside. I haven't had any issues with this one. However, since it goes in here and goes like this, if you were to like very quickly open this, or I guess if this kind of fell, I don't know if there's a risk of the computer sliding out at one point, but it feels sort of strange. Although this compartment here is amazing for safely storing documents. So if you have like a folder or papers or something and you don't want them at all wrinkled, this is perfect for that. Let's get to the main event here. Let's get to the most exciting stuff. The reason I was most interested in this bag, the top compartment here, right there, which actually I have configured slightly differently, and that's actually something I'm not super happy with. So if you remember my complaint about the Manfrotto bag not opening up widely, this completely solves that problem. This is brilliant. It's basically like how a garage door opens up and then an entire wall is missing and you can just see everything in the garage. It's basically the same thing. Like this whole thing disappears and whatever you have in here is super easily visible and super easily accessible. Now I have mine set up this way. I have one of the camera cubes that came with the bag in here like this. And then I can take my camera with the microphone attached and put it in there like that. And now it's very quickly and easily accessible through the top compartment. There's no pressure on the microphone. Nothing is touching the mic. And then I still have a couple of compartments here. There is a top compartment here that's slightly padded. You do also have side compartments here, which the Manfrotto bag doesn't have. These are also great for pens and cables and things. But the reason I'm torn is because that's functional and it's great. But now when I open up the rest of the bag, it feels like I have a lot of wasted space in here. I have my other camera cube in here. On the one hand, this is nice because this is the stuff I would need access to the least often. Or I could take this out and put, clothes and sweaters and stuff here. So the stuff I'm using all the time is up here. The stuff I'm not using very often is right here. And then we do have two compartments here with nothing here. And this opens up with magnets, which is fun. This is a great design, so you can still access stuff up here. But what I think would be the most fun and versatile use of this bag, which unfortunately just isn't possible, is to take that camera cube out, pop this down. This is much easier to transform than the compartment in the Manfrotto bag because there's no Velcro to deal with. You just sort of pull this string and then pop it up or down. And then there are these snaps here. So if you wanted, you could just unvelcro the whole thing and take it out and have this whole compartment if you wanted to, but I like this. I think this is really cool. It's not as secure as the Manfrotto one. You can see like stuff can fall on the sides. If you have big things like a camera or a lens or something, it's not a problem. But if you're putting small things like pens, cables, whatever, stuff that would be nicely put in an outer pocket, if you're putting that in here, it can very easily then fall into the big compartment down here. What I wanted to do was to be able to have this big camera bag compartment like normal, zip that up so I only need to get it when it's really important. And then I have this beautiful little shelf here, this little loft where I can keep my camera with the microphone. And yeah, it's the exact same size as the Manfrotto bag. I can kind of, sort of, maybe like squeeze this shut, but I'm putting a lot of unnecessary pressure on this microphone. And if I'm walking around and, putting the bag under a seat or on the ground or something, I'm not super comfortable with that. Again, without a microphone, it's not a problem at all. If the loft part could just be slightly deeper without having to then totally take over the bottom compartment, this would be absolutely perfect because then my camera could be here. I could open it, easily take it out without rubbing on zippers or anything. That was the first thing I checked when I got this bag, and I was disappointed to find out that it didn't work the way that I was hoping it would. The other thing I'm not super psyched about is this part here. On the Manfrotto bag, these bags really are exactly the same size. Like, I know this says it's 19 liters, it's the exact same size as this 25-liter bag here. I like that you can access this easily. I think that's cool. Kind of wish I could do that here. However, on the back of the lid here is where I think things could be done better. I think the Manfrotto bag is significantly better. So the top has no compartments because it is the laptop compartment. So I'll give it a pass there. There's no anything here on the top of this compartment, and there should be, because when the bag closes, this part just touches the back of the loft here. So there's no issue. It's not like it's going to bump up against equipment. If there were compartments here, you wouldn't be able to access them through the top, but that's okay. If you took the loft out and then this thing wasn't here, then you would be able to access this compartment from the top. So I think that would add a lot of really great versatility to the bag. And the other thing is, in the prototype bags that you might have seen in other reviews, there are 4 compartments here. These are divided in 2. On the production bags, it's just 2 big compartments. This is the perfect setup on the Manfrotto bag, where you have 1 big compartment and 2 small compartments. It's the best of both worlds. Also, this netting material is way stronger on the Manfrotto bag. This feels a little bit flimsy and a little bit prone to tearing, especially if you have things like sharp tools and stuff stored in there. Whereas this feels super duper strong and like nothing could ever tear through it. And I also like that there aren't zippers on these ones because it makes them super quick. So this is a perfect system. The flap with the small compartments and the zipper with the big compartment. The other thing that I was a little bit disappointed by in the Nomatic bag is a little bit of the build quality. I don't know if you can kind of see here, but I tried to leave these things in for the time being. There are a lot of like loose threads throughout, which I think you can just cut those and everything's fine and it's not going to cause a problem. Like right here on the top of the Loft, there's loose threads. Kind of down in here, there's just like the stitching isn't amazing. I would normally be fine with, but again, for a $400 camera bag, it should be like perfect. You know, it's like even right here on this strap, there's stitching coming off right here on this thing. I know Nomatic does offer a lifetime warranty on the bag, which is awesome. So if something happens at any point in time, you can reach out to them and they'll take care of it. But it would be nice to not have to even think about or do that at all. So I've got loose threads. I've got a semi-loose handle here on a $400 bag. It's a really nice bag. Like I really want to like this bag a lot. I wanted this to be the bag, but I don't know that it is the bag for me. And the other thing is just the material on the inside, which is very, very much my personal opinion. The Manfrotto bag is super standard. The dividers are nice and soft. The sides of the bag are pretty soft. The Nomatic bag is also very soft. Like it's not gonna come close to scratching anything. I love this cross stitching here. It looks so plush, like an old sleeping bag or something that's just like soft and cozy. But the material itself is a little less plush and a little more coarse than I expected it to be based on like pictures and things I had seen online. There's also been a lot of talk about the camera cubes not being so cubey. They're a little bit squished and warped. Originally, Nomatic had like wires in here that help these keep perfect form. I don't really personally have a problem with that. I would like them to be a little more rigid, but when they're all in the camera bag and everything's working together, it works fine. It's probably not something I would personally complain with. The dividers themselves that come with it or that you can get are awesome. They can fold in on themselves, be big dividers, small dividers. They can all attach to the floor of the bag, all attach to the sides, which is great because what that means is you're not going to have stuff slipping under dividers into other compartments. The Manfrotto bag, like some of the dividers have bottom things and some of them don't, but they're also really soft and they're like bendable so you can sort of origami them into fitting whatever you need to fit them. While both bags are supposed to stand on their own, and that is a feature of them, and they both stand up, literally stand on their own very well, the Manfrotto bag is way harder to tip over than the McKinnon bag. The McKinnon bag, especially if it's loaded up kind of heavy, when you set it down, it will kind of usually tip one way or the other. If you set it down gently, then it will stand up on its own, which is great. Whereas the Manfrotto bag, you can just drop it and the bag stands up. I can drop this one and the bag tips over. It's nice that they both stand up. This one is way better at standing on its own. So here's kind of where I'm at, is I have the Manfrotto bag, which I really love. It's pretty comfortable, not quite as comfortable as I want. The McKinnon bag here, the Nomatic bag, is way more comfortable, but also twice the price of the Manfrotto bag. It solves a couple of the things that I didn't like about the Manfrotto bag, but none of the main ones, especially just being able to have my camera with a mic in the top compartment. So what the end of this super long journey means is this bag is great. Both of these are great. And I think if you were looking at either of them, you'd be happy with either one. If I had just bought the Nomatic bag, if I just saw this, bought this, gotten it, I think I would be happy with it. And I think I would think it's a great bag and I love it. But because I had this one first, when I got this one, what I was kind of expecting was to feel like, oh my gosh, this solves all my problems, it's perfect. And instead what happened was I was kind of like, wow, this one's really, really good. It made me like this one more, which is great, right? I mean, cool, it's the thing I already have. And then when you see how similar they are in so many ways, and you realize that this one is half the price, or in some cases even less than half the price of this one, this is definitely not twice the price, worth twice the price. So even going back to what I said at the beginning of this video about, I don't know if it's fair to talk too much about price because each individual decides what is worth it to them or not. After having this bag and then spending $400 on this bag, I really like them both, but there's no clear one that I prefer. And to me, that's kind of a problem because I would like to say, wow, I got this bag. Sure, it was expensive, but every time I go somewhere, I want to take this one. This is, what I'm looking for, honestly, is a camera bag to use for years and years and years until the wheels fall off of it. There's no wheels on these. Until the straps, till it falls apart basically and I have to get a new bag. I love having a tool that you can use and rely on, and it becomes like such an innate part of your workflow and how you do things. And over time, it gets wear and tear on it. That's all part of the journey you've been on. I love that. And I think either of these could kind of fit that bill, but the fact that I'm not super psyched about this is definitely the one I'm gonna grab every time after spending the money on it probably means it's one I should just return and then just stick with this one right here. And speaking of things that I like to stick with, thank you to everyone who helps support my channel through Patreon and YouTube channel memberships. That kind of made sense. These transitions are always a little difficult. I guess to kind of wrap things up in the little like post-show tidbit here, the TB tidbit. If I were to make the perfect camera bag, what would I want it to be? I would probably combine all three of these. The Brevite, the Manfrotto, and the Nomatic, because for me, the Brevite, and I'll say this with Brevite, is the size. It's small, it's compact, and it is super discreet. The material on this is something I'm not a huge fan of. I love the material on both of these bags. I probably prefer the Nomatic's outer material. So a smaller bag that's made out of this material with two side pockets like this that are super elasticy so they hold things in, and the bag itself just comes with all the straps you need to hold things in. The bag that can stand up like this on its own, a bag that does have a small organizer front compartment, a bag that can carry at least a 14-inch laptop, and a bag that has a really nice top compartment, like basically this style of top compartment where everything opens up super easily, but it's big enough to hold a regular mirrorless camera. This is the A7S III with a, a mid-size lens and a microphone on it right there. That would be perfect. YKK zippers, put these zippers on this bag. And then some sort of hybrid system here where I like how well this attaches so that way nothing slips through the cracks. But I also love the practicality of being able to open up this and get to your stuff that's in this top compartment while you're not opening the top compartment, and has lots of nice compartments and dividers. Basically put this back part on here. That would be pretty much the perfect camera bag for me. So if you've stayed this far, thank you very much. This is where I'm at in my lifelong camera bag obsession, and I have no regrets. I friggin' love talking about camera bags. I love packing camera bags. I love trying out. They're great. So I guess when it comes to wrapping up this video, you could say it's in the bag. The video's supposed to be over, but as I've been working on it and editing it, I decided to just dip my toe in the world of super inexpensive camera bags. So I went on Amazon and found the least expensive bag that does everything that I wanted it to do. This one was $23. It's sort of strange because it opens up this way and then this little camera cube kind of pulls out here and you have all your stuff there. It's water resistant. It can hold a computer and very easily camera, lens, microphone. Look at that. I can take this whole thing and just put it in here. There's plenty of room, and then just zip it up and I'm good to go. And this whole bag is even smaller than the Brevite bag. So I think this just means I need to make another video about camera bags.